So I became obsessed with phoenixes, companies that can reinvent themselves. I was getting a little tired of the unicorn stories because a unicorn is relatively easy. A phoenix is more difficult because you have history and battle scars and legacy. But I think what you need to understand is that it is possible. I think the belief that phoenixes are real are maybe the first step. And I think what it means is that you understand that if you understand innovation and technology and find ways to be creative, you can even leverage the opportunities in this never normal as a way to create a phoenix. So if you take uncertainty as your almost ingredient and see it as a mechanism to unlock the power of the never normal, then I think a phoenix is absolutely possible. When I look at the phoenixes, I think one of the things that is probably the smallest in terms of bets that companies take that has the biggest results isn't technology, isn't even innovation, even isn't disruption, but it's actually mindset. And little things that are cultural and mindset can have the biggest results. When I take one of my favorite phoenixes, Microsoft, that is 50 years old, was completely transformed into a phoenix 10 years ago by Satya Nadella. It was because of one thing, his focus on a growth mindset. And that little element, that little nugget was actually the leverage mechanism that created the phoenix. This is my favorite Santa Claus letter of a young girl who writes, "Dear Santa, how are you? I'm good. Here's what I want for Christmas." And then the Amazon URL of what that child wants to have under the Christmas tree. And that's the reason why Amazon has completely reinvented retail. But I had the chance for the last 7 years to be very close to Walmart, the biggest supermarket in the world. 5,000 physical stores in the US, 1.6 million employees. And I could see their transformation. They had 5,000 stores. They had a store concept for 70 years. Now they have added mobile and delivery and online, and it's fascinating, and it's a beautiful example of a company that can reinvent itself. And I know a lot of companies here in the room want to be a phoenix, right? But I meet a lot of companies that I call King Kongs. They're big and loud and no idea how they got there. And the scary part is it's close to dinosaur territory. If you hold on to a business model for too long, it doesn't work anymore. If you don't realize the world is changing, or if you cannot move fast enough. I mean, one of the best movies of the last 3 years, BlackBerry, a company that had 45% market share went to 0 in 36 months. And Warren Buffett says, if I invest in a business, I want it to be like a castle. And it was a strong castle, and I want a big moat. I want sharks in the moat. That is a beautiful recipe to survive. But as Jerry Chen said, don't confuse surviving with thriving. And ask yourself this question, in this never normal, this super exciting period, what is your role? Is it to make your company survive, or is it about thriving? And that means that I think you're gonna have to be bold on the vision and flexible on the details.
I think we are bombarded by opportunities at every chance, and each one is a temptation for you to lose your focus. So I think you should be open to exploring the future of your business, but your focus should be on protecting and improving the core. Don't be so distracted by the future that you lose sight of the thing that creates value for customers today. As a leader, I think you need to be clear on what's of utmost importance. And one of the things we talked about today is that everything here applies in your personal life as much as your professional life. And I will tell you, I had an opportunity in December of this year. That was the highest paying event for me. And it was also in a location that anybody would be like, oh my God, that's on my wish list to go to. And December is a time that I have said to my family, I do not travel because I care about my little kids and my family, and I just won't do it. And so I ended up saying no to this zombie that got in the way of the things that were the most important to me. And I actually think we can judge how we're growing based on the zombies we kill. I call it a reverse resume. Not the things that you've done, but the things that you've said no to. And if the things you've said no to are getting better each year, then you're growing as an individual and as an organization. So I look not at my accomplishments, but at my reverse resume. Because if I'm saying no to better stuff, then I'm doing even more incredible things like the Nordic Business Forum.
So companies tend to drift off course for various reasons. And maybe the best way to course correct all the time is simply to iterate. You have a plan based on certain assumptions, certain expectations of customer demand, customer needs, competitors' actions. And as you learn more in a deliberate way, not just by happenstance, but you create a system that gathers data on the assumptions that you have made, on which you have made your plan. And as you get that data, you always iterate through the plan. Basically just the same way as the first mate of a ship. When the wind rises and the ship starts to drift, of course, you iterate. You course correct, you check the weather forecast. If the weather is bad, you tell somebody to go stand in the bow of the ship and look forward and yell if they see something. It is not something you can solve like with one tool, but you need to constantly work on it.
We need to reimagine what's possible. Do you know, as experts, we often limit how much growth is possible because we see life in linear terms, okay? We think we did this year, we could do a little bit better next year. That is not how innovators think. Innovators say, I want to start from scratch. The expert will have a strategic planning session after this conference, and they'll say, how can we improve? How can we do the same thing but a little bit better? And the innovator will say, what does version 2.0 look like? How can we reimagine a full process inside of our organization, whether it's how we hire and train employees, or whether it's our customer experience. I reimagine my customer experience every 6 months. Or whether it's an internal operational process. If we weren't tied to all of these legacy systems and processes, how could we invent it from scratch? I literally want you to start with the most powerful innovation tool known to man, a blank sheet of paper. And I want you to invite all of those young people that have no idea what they're talking about. And I want you to say, how do we reimagine how this works?
You can be afraid of, for example, new technology. It will reveal how little you know. It will reveal to you that you can't learn anymore. You may be afraid of losing your job or your job changing. And then you resist. You sort of add sand to the gears of the company to slow things down. It's a leadership issue. You need to, as a leader, help people as much as you can to face the future with excitement and believe in yourself that I can learn, I can change, I can benefit from what is happening instead of feeling like I'm a victim. Technology is the biggest factor truly transforming the way we work over the last 20 years and over the next 20 years. And probably the companies that are best in applying tech, which means how their people sort of face the opportunity to change things through tech, are probably the ones that perform best in almost every sector.